Welcome back to the New York Times Close Up. The writer Carol Kino met with two Marines at a warehouse at Quantico, Virginia, talking about art, the art of war. But we're not talking Sun Tzu's art of war, we're talking about art of war. Artists have documented war for centuries, and so have soldiers, but as technology has become, so much an integral part of our lives, painting and drawing during wartime seems not almost old-fashioned, indeed old-fashioned. Ms. Kino writes about Chief Warrant Officer Michael Fay and Sergeant Christopher Battles, dedicated to the Marine Corps' Combat Arts Program. And you're not going to get too many Marines or soldiers, I guess, talking about how much they love Basquiat and Gerhard Richter. I also love the name Battles. When I was in the Army, I had a sergeant whose name was Warrior. You don't get better names like that. This piece is fascinating. It's on the cover of the Arts and Leisure section on Sunday. And the Marines, more than the other branches of the service, seem dedicated to keeping artists. Obvious question, why? How does this endure in this high-tech age?
That's an interesting question. I think when I asked people about it, they all said, it's because the artist has a point of view and the artist brings his own experience to the picture. If it's a photograph, it's just, I don't know, for some reason they felt that a photograph can't convey emotion or personal experience. And maybe it's something to do with the reason that this all began, the official combat art programs began in the First World War, was because camera technology was too unwieldy to be used at the front. The exposures were too long, they couldn't get really close up. So they used artists to capture experience instead.
And they find it has an emotional resonance that perhaps, the camera, even in its digital form, doesn't have?
Yes, that's what was really fascinating. I talked to lots of Marines who, obviously have no great feeling for art in general, but who felt very moved by these paintings.
So they're accepted by the regular troops and not just simply seen as oddballs, if you will.
I mean, obviously the people I was talking to knew something about it, so they all accepted them. But yeah, I think in general they are accepted because they drill with the other Marines,
And they go out, you write, in full combat gear. They're toting an M16, they're carrying up to 100 pounds worth of equipment, plus their own art supplies. Are they in as much danger as regular troops when they're out there?
I think so, because I think they're supposed to fight first. They're supposed to be Marines first and then paint, when they have time between battles.
Do you have a sense, Carol, how much of the horror of war they capture in this? I mean, do these tend to be heroic portraits, or do we see some of the grittier parts of war and perhaps even the American troops in not so nice situations? Yeah,
I mean, definitely there are plenty of images of dead bodies, throughout history. Definitely, definitely. And I think their mission, I forget what the phrase is, but they have strict instructions to go and paint what they see, and not to necessarily whitewash it for the sake of posterity.
And who gets to see their work? Is this in purely in military museums, or do they occasionally have exhibitions in more general museums or galleries?
They do occasionally. I have a feeling there's a museum in Philadelphia that's going to be showing Army work, at least, and I think a little bit of the Marines' work is going to be mixed in with it sometime in September. Sorry, I don't remember the name. But it does seem to me it's mostly sequestered in military museums.
And what's the future for them? There were 70, you said, as far back as World War II. There's one or two now.
There's one now.
There's one now. Is he the last of the Mohicans?
I don't think he'll be the last one. I think they probably will find somebody else to replace Mike Fay, who just retired.
Well, let's hope so. That'll be great. Thank you. Thanks to Carol Kino for joining us. You can read her fascinating article in this week's Arts and Leisure section, and also see a slideshow on nytimes.com. The Reporters Roundtable convenes after the following.